Hello everybody, and welcome to Dime Novels Top 10. I'm Captain Zant.
And I'm Norm.
And tonight's Top 10 is the Top 10 Robots of Science Fiction. Now we've each picked 5 robots, some of our favorite robots from science fiction, and we're just sticking to robots. No androids, no cyborgs. Those will be covered in other episodes. So coming in at number 10 are the Exocomps, from Star Trek The Next Generation, Season 6, Episode 9, called The Quality of Life. Now, the Exocomps were robots, about yay big, about a football size, maybe a little bigger, that hover around, and they could do maintenance work and other work in hazardous areas where people, life forms, could not go. Now, what happened, and they're all joined up in a network. They were always talking to each other, kind of like their own little internet. And what happens through the course of this episode is they develop into sentient beings with a collective consciousness, and then are considered a life form, and can no longer be justified in sending them into hazardous areas for no reason whatsoever. I thought it brought up a lot of great points and about intelligence, artificial intelligence, how it comes about, and what life really is. Okay, I'll hand the ball off to you, Norm.
Okay, Cap. I was just curious about something. Are you more into Star Trek Next Generation or the original series?
Probably Next Generation more, yeah. I think it has more sophisticated writing.
Okay, well, we're opposite on that then, because, I'm an original. And there was some interesting robots that I could have brought up from the original series, too, if I'd thought about it. But I didn't. But I tell you what, my first robot is the robot from Lost in Space. I was just thinking, I was about 12 or 13 at the time, and Lost in Space was cashing in on the space race. And, everybody was doing, even all shows were doing space things, okay? But Lost in Space was, one of the biggies for the kids my age at that time. And as a matter of fact, when it went from black and white to color, I was there. But I took some notes on this. The Robinson's robot was created by a fellow by the name of Robert Kinoshita. And he's also the guy who designed Robbie the robot for Forbidden Planet.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. And also, Robbie also made a guest appearance on Lost in Space in a series in the title War of the Robots in 1966, at which time I was 11 years old. Well, now the robot cost $75,000 to produce and weighed in excess of 200 pounds.
Wow.
And 2 of them were made, one for a front shot and one for the back shot. And Dick Tufeld was the voice of the robot, and he did voice work for most of Irwin Allen's arsenal of shows during the period, and he died in 2012. Bet you didn't know that.
No, I didn't know that.
Well, according to Wiki, the robot's model designation was B-9 Class M-3 General Utility Non-Theorizing Environmental Control Robot.
Oh, it's nice and short and to the point.
And the character of the robot was ranked number 14 in the TV Guide's list of the top 25 greatest sci-fi legends.
Okay.
In the 2004 issue. And lastly, a company on the internet is advertising that they will sell you a robot, the robot, and they've been in business since 2005, and you can get yours for only $24,500.
Well, no, you can't pass that up. That's a deal.
Right. What's the next one?
Okay, well, next I have the robots from Mystery Science Theater 3000, aka MST3K. Ran from 1988 to 1999. It's created by a comedian named Joel Hodgson, and the premise is fantastic. Joel works at this place. It's called Gizmonic Institute, and his bosses hate him, so they shoot him up into space, sending him to the Satalite of Love, where they force him to watch terrible, cheesy, B-rated movies over and over and over. This is his punishment. But, so he's not alone. He takes parts from the Satellite of Love and builds himself a bunch of robot friends. 2 of them are very smarmy and witty and a little filthy sometimes, and they're Tom Servo and Crow T. Robot. And then there was a big sweet one, looks like a big purple vacuum cleaner practically. Her name was Gypsy. And then you had, of course, Cambot. Those were his 4 bots. And every week, for 2 hours, you sit in front of your television and watch the silhouettes of them watching a bad movie and ad-libbing over it, or they're all scripted jokes, but joking over it the whole time, and it was just a crack up. And those bots, I love them to death. That's mine.
Well, I tell you, yeah. Well, you and my wife, okay. The show, I don't know, wasn't that great, but I think we all watched them just to see the robots, and I didn't know that the vacuum cleaner was a girl. That's news for me.
Yeah, Gypsy.
I didn't know that. Well, okay, my next one is a robot by the name of Box, and Box was on Logan's Run.
Yeah. And
how many times have you watched that film?
Oh, I've probably actually watched the series more than the film. I've seen the film a couple times, but I have the series and I watch it a little more often.
I never watched the series. That's okay. I forgot about that. No, I love the film, but anyway, Box was there's not that much information about Box, so let me just give you a little general information there. It's Logan's Run took place in 2274, and what's left of everyone is living in a dome, I'm thinking, near Washington, D.C., for the simple reason that at the end of the movie, they wind up in Washington. They didn't walk that far. Well, it's true. And Logan's Run was shot, what? Logan's Run was shot in 1976 at a time when hippie kids under 30 reckoned that folks like me shouldn't be living, okay? So after they got, I think, probably around 30, they were killed off. And
yeah.
So that was the outgrowth of that philosophy, I suppose. Well, Box was voiced by an actor by the name of Roscoe Lee Brown, who was most famous for a whole lot of blaxploitation films. But and that's why it was such a great voice for Box, because you just really don't, if you know anything about Brown, you just don't really see him doing that character. But he was, it was great. And one of my favorite in the world lines that I have used, stolen often, is he says that his job is to gather food for the people up top, or it used to be, fish and plankton and sea greens and protein from the sea.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all here and ready as fresh as harvest day. Fish and green sea greens, plankton, and proteins from the sea. He goes on about that quite a bit. And according to the author at a place called snowcrest.net, the fire marshal wasn't real happy. You remember when they were in the ice cave?
Mm-hmm.
Well, all that snow was actually styrofoam, and the fire marshal wasn't real happy about that, so they kind of had to tiptoe. And so, there's not a whole lot of information about Box exists, except it kind of looks to me like they strung some cheap boxes together, and that's just fine because it worked out real good, I think. And oh, by the way, and it's believed that, again, this Robert Kinoshita fella who did Robbie was also had something to do with building Box. I guess one of his off days or something.
Okay, wow. See,
what's that for that?
Yeah. Okay, well, then I guess coming in at number 6, we have 790 from the show Lex. Anyone who's watched Lex knows it's a little bit of a twisted journey you take, but well worth it. Now, 790 is a twisted little robot head. He's just a robot head. He lost his body and ended up with Zev, she's another main character, Zev's love slave programming. And the first thing Robot Head sees when he's turned on is Zev, and he falls madly in love with her. And later on, just to let you know, later on, I think season 3, he has to be repaired and rebooted. And then the next time, he comes on, first person he sees is Kai, the undead assassin. So he falls in love with him instead, and then convinces himself that he's actually a woman, since he's fallen in love with a male. He is a psychopathically disturbed, in love, sexually confused robot head. He's out to destroy anyone around him except the one he loves. And it is crazy and funny, and he propels himself around on this little cart. There's a little robot head going around the ship like this, and he is just maniacal, and you love to hate him.
Frankly, that's all news to me. I missed that whole thing. I guess I'm going to have to watch that now.
If you like some twisted sci-fi with a great sense of humor.
No, I've never been, I've never been known for, twisted sci-fi books, probably much. But surely I wouldn't go in for that. But little joke there. But I bet I've got one that you haven't seen. Did you see Kronos?
No.
No, of course not. Well, there's a little film called Kronos, okay, and the first like 5 or 6 times I saw it was on a show called The Unknown out of Birmingham, Alabama, when I was just a real little kid, and that show came on Saturdays, and they played all the rerun science fiction stuff. Of course, we'd never seen it, but it's called Kronos, and Wiki calls Kronos a cult film.
Mm-hmm.
And I call it one of the creepiest robot films of all time.
Ah.
Well, I came to find out that the thing was shot in 1957 in 2 whole weeks. Okay?
Wow.
Yep. Well, 57 was the ultimate golden age for monster flicks, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Right in the middle of it, anyway. And Kronos is he's so frightening because he's so impersonal. Okay. And what it is, it's a box shaped critter that feeds off of energy, and when they try to hit it with an atom bomb, it only makes it hungrier. And the thing of it is, it's a square box, okay, and it looks to be a model, a square box, and underneath it, it's got these 3 stomping piston legs that goes like this right here,
and
it's scary. The thing looks to be about 500 feet tall. And it's invincible, and it has absolutely no sense of humor about it. So, anyway, as Kronos is also known as Kronos, Ravager of Planets.
Okay.
Kronos,
Ravager of Planets.
And it appears to be, like I say, a model with cartoon piston legs that go around stomping everything, and it eats all energy. And Jeff Morrow of This Island Earth battles Kronos, and I'm not going to tell you whether he wins or not, but, this is one you need to go look up. I'm not kidding. Kronos, you need to go find it and watch it.
All right, will do. I'll look it up online as I look everything else up.
Hopefully it'll be there.
Yeah, I hope so. At number 4, I have the Tachikomas from Ghost in the Shell Standalone Complex, otherwise known as First Gig. Now, the Tachikomas are these battle vehicles, multi-legged. They have artificial intelligence. They have all kinds of other technical capabilities. But what makes them very interesting is, now there's 9 of them. They have an individuality to themselves, but at the end of each day, since they are just machines to the place where they're used, called Section 9. They're every night. So they end up with all these shared memories. They can't always tell who did what. Was that you who did it, or was it me? But yet they still have individual personalities that come out. And they're also endearing and heroic at the same time. But they were a very fascinating look at artificial intelligence and a different level of consciousness where there is still individuality within this net of shared consciousness. And that's one of the reasons I really put Tachikomas on there, because they were a really, really great concept.
You're really coming up with some stuff that I know absolutely zero about. I guess I'm old school. It's a lot maybe it's easier for me because everything I know is old, I guess, and black and white or whatever. But let me tell you, the next robot, it could be the number 1 robot, but it's not. Actually, we do have a number 1 robot. It's the top 10 or the 10th robot, whichever way we're going here. It is Gort.
Gort.
Everybody knows and loves Gort, but I bet I found out some things you didn't know about Gort.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we'll check this out. The Gort Critter came the story came from a story which appeared in Astounding magazine in 1940, written by Harry Bates, called Farewell to the Master. And Astounding sold the rights for $1,000, only half of which went to Bates.
Wow.
Yeah. And I mean, this is one of the most famous robots of all time. There's no telling how much money this thing generated, and you know, the poor writer got $500 out of it.
From the day the Earth stood still.
Yeah. Wow. Okay, and Gort was actually the movie, of course, was The Day the Earth Stood Still, 1951, Michael Rennie and Patricia Neal. And you know, Gort was actually a fellow who worked at Grauman's Chinese Theater. And the thing about him, he was a tall guy. He was 7'7", and they hired him to wear the suit, but he wasn't real strong. His name was Locke Martin. So if you ever noticed when he's carrying Patricia Neal around, it just doesn't look quite right. Well, they got her on wires because he couldn't pick her up.
Mm.
Yeah, and sometimes some of the facts I've got here say that some of the things he was carrying was dummies, but maybe she was a dummy. But it looked like wires to me. But anyway, Gort was designed to have a fluid metal appearance, but the bodysuit was actually smooth latex, and the seams were hidden by building two suits. One laced up the back for shots showing the front, and the other suit laced up the front, and so on. Oh. And Gort, you know, that little slit-eyed devil, he's shot in black and white, and when the door opens to reveal that roving-eyed death ray, he was an instant winner with the public.
Mm-hmm.
And The Day the Earth Stood Still was near the beginning of the thing about it was at the very beginning of a decade it was the beginning of the golden age of sci-fi flicks, really. It was close to the front. Mm-hmm. And
it still stands as one of the best sci-fi films
yet ever made. Okay, and you know, they made the remake in 2008, which I didn't think much of. Mm-hmm. So no, it just really didn't hold up. But anyway, Gort is he could be number one, but he's not. Over to you.
Okay. My top pick, which will come in at number 2 on our list, is Maria. Maria from Metropolis, the 1927 silent film, iconic sci-fi by Fritz Lang, and involving the story. It's a futuristic tale. Back then, 1927, futuristic tale, taking place 100 years from then, which is, you know, not far from now. And it's the classic story of the proletariat thrown in there. But what really comes out, and what we really care about, is the robot, Maria. The iconic robot we all know from Metropolis. It's a classic Art Deco style, really helped influence the designs of many other robots to come. In fact, C-3PO himself is inspired by the design of Maria, and Maria is also one of the earliest depictions of a female robot in science fiction film.
Do you remember those guys? Do you remember the guys? If I'm not mistaken, they were walking in lockstep, you know, going into the workplace. You remember that? And that affected me. That affected me. And the other thing, and as far as the robot herself, you know, she had that look about her. She just had that inhuman look, kind of like she knew something but wasn't saying. Of course, it was a feminine sort of a robot, sneaky. My wife just looked at me and said, something about that look, man. I don't know. It really got me.
She's a terrifying robot. She really is.
She is that. She is definitely. Well, listen. Are you ready for number 1?
Yes, I'm ready for number 1.
Do you have any guesses? Well, I know you know what it is. If you had to guess and you didn't already know, what would you say? Come up with something that nobody's ever heard of. I'm ready.
Oh, Okay.
Oh, I'm not going to
Go
put you on
ahead,
the spot.
tell us.
Okay, it's Robbie the Robot.
All right. Now that's the one not to
Beat Robbie the Robot.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, I'm going to fix to tell you a couple things you didn't know. Well, it was designed by a fellow named Robert Kinoshita. I've heard of him somewhere. And he was born in 1914 in Los Angeles. And he is known for working... Oh, did you ever watch Highway Patrol?
Yep.
Sea Hunt?
No.
Bat Masterson? Well, I grew up
bit.
with all that stuff. I was real young, okay, but I grew up with all Highway Patrol. We watched all of those again. He worked on that. But anyway, before he did that, Robbie was built in the mid-1950s by the MGM prop department at a reported cost of $125,000, okay?
Wow.
This is at a time when
That's
you
a
bought
lot.
a Coke for a nickel. And he was built to star in Forbidden Planet, which ran in 1956, and they also had in mind the B-movie follow-up, The Invisible Boy, okay? Which wasn't real hot.
Mm-hmm.
But, well, I'd say it wasn't real hot. Looking back on it, it's kind of clunky, you know, but have you seen The Invisible Boy, by the way?
Yeah, I did. Well, when I was a kid, I saw it. I was really big into...
I guess when you're kid. Well,
I thought The Invisible Man was far better.
Robbie's voice was provided by actor-announcer Marvin Miller, who was a long-running old-time radio voice. And Robbie came in at 7 foot 6 inches tall,
Wow.
and weighed about 300 pounds, and was originally operated by the MGM special effects technician by the name of Glenn Robinson, who subsequently worked on MGM's Logan's Run.
Logan's Run.
And that's the #1 robot of all time, Robbie, and we can't get enough of Robbie, and we wish he'd come back.
That's for sure. And everywhere you look, Robbie's at the top of a lot of lists. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed some of our favorite robots. And there's links to descriptions and photos of all these bots down in the descriptions area. And now, please be sure to check us out at warpspacesci-fi.com. And if you like to read good science fiction, go on over to Norm's sites, fableshop.net and survivalapocalypse.com.
And thank you so much for having me on here this evening. We'll be doing another one shortly. And again, don't forget to visit warpspacesci-fi.com and see us there too.
That's right. You can see us everywhere anymore. We're going to be everywhere. So thanks a lot, guys. We appreciate having you here. And check us out because we still have later. So good night. Live long and prosper.
Toodles, y'all.
Provided by the Warped Space Sci-Fi Club in conjunction with FableShop.net and SurvivalApocalypse.com. Visit us today. I am not a real girl.